A bailiff tries to humiliate the Joker by slamming his head on the desk, but Joker's unexpected reaction flips the room instantly. They said the courtroom was the safest place in the entire city, a room where truth stood taller than fear, where justice carried more weight than power. But that belief shattered the moment the bailiff slammed the Joker's head against the wooden desk so hard that the microphones trembled, and the entire courtroom froze in a silence so sharp it could cut skin. Because what happened next, what the Joker did next, wasn't anger, wasn't violence, wasn't madness. It was a smile, a slow, broken, unsettling smile that made even the judge lean back in his chair, as if he had just realized justice wasn't the only thing on trial today. Some say the Joker came to court to answer for his crimes, but those who were there, those who survived, whisper a different story. A story about corruption, betrayal, and a man with a painted smile who decided he wasn't the villain that day. And this is the story they tried to bury. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to our channel, because the stories we tell don't just entertain. They reveal the truths hiding in the darkest corners of the world. The courtroom carried the heavy scent of old wood, stale perfume, and the quiet tension of people who believed they were witnessing a routine trial. But that belief shattered the moment the bailiff slammed the Joker's head into the desk with enough force to make the microphones tremble. For a few seconds, the room held its breath. Joker didn't lift his head immediately. A thin line of blood slid down his temple, leaving a faint streak on the polished surface beneath him. The bailiff towered above him, fists tight, breathing hard like he was daring the man in handcuffs to move again. Slowly, Joker pressed his trembling palm against the desk and lifted himself back up. The bruise on his forehead caught the courtroom lights, highlighting the brokenness in his expression. But instead of anger, instead of the explosion of madness the audience expected, he offered the room a slow, unsettling smile. It wasn't the chaotic grin the world feared. It was quieter, colder, the smile of a man who had finally understood something terrible. "You hit me," he whispered, sounding more curious than hurt. Then he released a soft laugh, too soft, too controlled, too knowing. The judge slammed his gavel and ordered silence, but the Joker didn't look at him. He kept his eyes on the bailiff, smearing the blood across his sleeve like war paint before turning toward the court. "Control," he echoed. "Isn't that why we're here? To see who gets to control the story?" The room murmured with unease. The prosecutor stood quickly, pointing at him as if pointing at a threat that might break loose at any second. "Your Honor, this man is manipulating the court. He is dangerous." Joker interrupted with a tilt of his head, repeating the word dangerous, as though it tasted sour. "You mean like a bailiff assaulting a handcuffed defendant in front of 30 witnesses? The bailiff's face drained of color, and for a moment, the entire courtroom seemed to pivot, shifting its weight, trying to decide where justice actually stood. Joker rested his chin on his cuffed hands, elbows on the desk, like a child waiting to hear a story. "I'm just curious," he said softly. "What are we calling justice today? The kind we pay for, or the kind we bleed for?" The judge warned him again, but Joker only smiled deeper. Outburst? "I haven't begun?" A thick silence settled in the room. Some looked away, while others couldn't stop staring. Because for all the paint, scars, and rumors, the man sitting before them didn't look like the monster headlines had created. He looked tired, betrayed, human in a way that was more dangerous than madness. The prosecutor began listing Joker's charges, including orchestrating an attack on Councilman Hargrove. Joker let out a hollow, sharp laugh. "That man tried to have me killed," he said calmly. "But I'm the one on trial. Someone explained that joke to me." When the judge scolded him again, Joker's eyes drifted across the room, studying faces one by one. He pointed at a man in the gallery. "Do you think I'm lying?" The man stuttered, unable to answer. Joker didn't wait. "It's fine. Honesty gets you hurt. Just ask him." He nodded toward the bailiff. All eyes turned, watching the officer's trembling hands. His fear filled the silence the way truth often does. Quietly, but undeniably. Joker leaned back, his voice lowering. You think they hit me because they hate me? No. They hit me because they're afraid I'll speak. His breathing deepened, and for a moment, his expression shifted into something raw. Fear makes the innocent look guilty, and the guilty look powerful. The judge attempted to regain control, but Joker wasn't listening anymore. His mind had drifted somewhere darker, deeper. He stood up slowly. The metal cuffs rattled, making the guards tense. His gaze lingered on the prosecutor, then the judge, then the bailiff, each one flinching beneath the coldness in his eyes. Then, with that line of blood still drying on his cheek, he whispered, You hit the wrong clown today. The room froze. Everyone waited for him to attack, scream, or break down. But Joker did something far worse. He turned. He looked into the gallery, scanning faces, until he stopped at one person, a woman sitting alone near the back. She lowered her head quickly, hoping he hadn't noticed. But Joker's slow, eerie smile confirmed he had. There you are, he whispered. The woman stiffened, and the courtroom finally understood something was very, very wrong, because no one knew who she was. But the Joker did, and in his smile, one truth became clear. The real story was only just beginning. The moment Joker's eyes locked onto the woman, the courtroom shifted from tense to suffocating. It wasn't the way she looked, plain clothes, quiet posture, hands folded tightly on her lap. It was the way she tried to sink into her seat, as if she feared being recognized more than anything else happening in that room. Joker didn't blink, didn't smile. He simply stared, the way a man stares at a memory that never healed. For the first time since he entered the courtroom, his expression wasn't mocking or amused. It was personal. The judge sensed the shift and ordered the guards to restrain him, but Joker barely reacted as they stepped closer. His voice cut through the room like a whispered confession. I didn't expect you, he said softly, not breaking eye contact with her. But here you are, watching them try to bury me the same way they buried you. People in the gallery turned toward her, confused, curious, unsettled. She kept her head down, but Joker wasn't having it. Look at me, he said. The command wasn't loud, yet it carried a weight stronger than the judge's gavel. Slowly, reluctantly, she lifted her face. Her eyes were tired, not physically, but spiritually. Eyes of someone who had been broken in silence. Joker's smile returned, smaller this time, sadder, like he was grieving something only he understood. You see, he said to the room, they know her. They know what they did. They just pretend they don't. The prosecutor slammed a hand on the table, demanding the judge intervene, but Joker talked over them, his voice growing steadier. You all pretend. That's your talent. Mine is noticing the cracks. As the guards grabbed his arms, Joker didn't resist. He let them, almost amused. You can hold me, he said, but her? You can't touch what you did to her. The woman flinched, a tremor running through her shoulders. Joker tilted his head slightly. Don't worry, I'm not here to hurt you. I'm the only one in this room who remembers the truth. A murmur rippled through the audience. The judge demanded silence. The guards tried to force Joker to sit, but instead he lowered himself willingly, keeping his eyes on the woman as though anchoring himself to her. Then, without warning, the bailiff spoke. His voice cracked. She shouldn't be here. It slipped out, unplanned, uncontrolled. The prosecutor whipped his head around, glaring at him. What are you doing? But it was too late. The courtroom had already latched onto the words. Joker laughed softly. Oh, finally, someone admits it. The judge ordered the bailiff to remain silent, but the man looked sick, sweating, unable to stand still. Joker leaned forward as if offering comfort. It's okay, he said gently. You are following orders, right? Isn't that what all of you say? I was just doing my job. But tell them, just for fun, whose job was she? The bailiff froze, the woman's lip trembled, and the room fell into a silence heavier than guilt itself. Joker continued in a tone almost fatherly. You hid her because she saw too much. She heard too much. She knew too much. And now, what? You think dragging me into court will erase that? He let out a low laugh. You people are adorable. The prosecutor tried to salvage control. Your Honor, this is manipulation. This defendant is inventing connections. Joker cut him off sharply. Ask her then. Let her speak. His voice softened. For once. The judge turned to the woman, unsure, trapped between procedure and fear. Ma'am, do you know the defendant? Her breath caught, and for a moment she looked like she might deny everything. But Joker whispered, Tell the truth, and her eyes filled with tears. She nodded. The courtroom erupted, gasps, whispers, shouts. The judge hammered the gavel repeatedly, but it barely made a dent in the chaos. The prosecutor stepped back as though the ground beneath him had shifted. The bailiff closed his eyes as if preparing for a blow he knew was coming. Joker, however, simply smiled. See? It's funny how truth works. You hide it, it rots. You speak it, it burns. The judge demanded the woman explain how she knew him. She opened her mouth, trying to speak, but her voice cracked under the weight of whatever memory haunted her. Joker raised a hand slightly, not to silence her, but to shield her. Don't worry, he murmured. They don't deserve your story. I'll tell them my side. The guards tightened their grip, but Joker straightened, addressing the courtroom with a calmness that felt more dangerous than any chaos he had ever caused. She came to me long before any of you ever cared about corruption. She asked for help when your precious councilman destroyed her life, and I did what none of you ever would. I listened. His voice deepened. She wasn't another file to me. She was a person, a forgotten one, and I don't forget forgotten people. A pause fell, a deep, unsettling pause that made the judge shift uncomfortably, and the prosecutor stepped back like he had seen something unnatural. Joker leaned in. You want to know why I'm here? You think this trial is about me? He shook his head slowly. No, this is about what you did to her and about what I'm going to do next. The guards tried to drag him away, but Joker's voice rose just enough to echo across the room. You think you're safe because you put me in chains, but chains don't stop storms. And then he said something that made the woman gasp, the prosecutor stumble, and the entire courtroom fall silent again. I didn't come here to defend myself, Joker whispered. I came to collect a debt. The woman's eyes widened, not in fear, but in recognition. And at that exact moment, somewhere in the back of the courtroom, a single man stood up, quietly, deliberately, like he had been waiting for that sentence. No one knew him. Joker did. And the smile on Joker's bruised face returned, sharper than ever. The storm had arrived. And that was the day the courtroom learned a truth far darker than the Joker's smile. Because sometimes the real danger isn't the man on trial. It's the secrets the world tried to silence. If you want to see what happens when justice meets chaos, make sure to subscribe. The next story might be the one they never wanted you to hear.